Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, February 11, 2025. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin? Mr. Coghill?
Here.
Ms. Gross?
Here.
Mr. Mosley? Mrs. Cale Smith? Mrs. Strasburger?
Here.
Mrs. Warwick?
Here.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Lavelle, President?
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a moment of silence. I believe the students of Wolfslayer are here to lead us in the pledge. Is that the case? Is that them? All right. If not, we'll do the pledging. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is to amend the agenda. Is there a motion to amend?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Our next order of business is proclamations. We'll go a little out of order, and I will actually begin. If we could first have all those who are here for the proclamation for Mal Good, please come forward. So prior to reading this, what I'll simply say is, obviously it's an honor when any of us get to issue a proclamation for whatever the issue is, but it's not often you actually get to do one for a member of your family. And so for me, this is actually a rather special moment. We're going to recognize Mal Good, or as I called him, my Uncle Mal. And what I will simply say, and I think this is important for council, is that what my memory of him, he died when I was, I think my senior year in high school actually, is when he passed away, was that he believed, he cared about his community so much, he cared about the black community so much, he cared about the city, he cared about his country so much that he was always wishing and pursuing to challenge them in our beliefs and our concepts and what we thought was most appropriate. And he did it because he cared so much. And I think that's important for all of us on council as we have some rather important decisions to make in the coming months, that we challenge those decisions, we think about them, not because we're just trying to be political or just because we want to make a point, but rather because we care deeply enough that we are going to push and we are going to critique. So with that, whereas Mal Good, a fierce advocate for Pittsburgh's black community, grew up in Homestead, worked night turns at the Homestead Steelworks, while studying at Pitt, and after graduation worked in the Hill District as the boys director of the Central Avenue YMCA, while also managing the city's Terrace Village and Bedford Dwellings housing projects. And whereas Mal Good's next position at the Pittsburgh Courier was a stepping stone to local radio, where he challenged the police, politicians, and segregation, going on to become a national media icon in 1962 after ABC News hired him as the first African-American correspondent in the country. Whereas although race prevented Mal Good from initially breaking into television, Jackie Robinson advocated strongly on his behalf while an opening for one African-American at ABC News occurred, and he was hired to become the first African-American network news correspondent in the country. Whereas Mr. Good became a television correspondent with the uncompromising belief that network news needed black voices and perspectives if it were to authentically reflect the nation's complexities and speak to all Americans. Whereas Mr. Good's success at ABC's initiated the slow integration of network news, a legacy that we continue to see to this day, from a life and work that were remarkable as his struggles and achievements spoke to larger issues of African-American life and African-American experience. And whereas Mr. Good passed away in Pittsburgh on September 12, 1995, having changed the landscape of network news for the better. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare February 11th, 2025 to be Mal Good Day in the City of Pittsburgh. May we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is approved. Congratulations.
On behalf of my siblings and myself, my name is Roselia Good Parker. I'm the youngest of the 6 siblings. I just want to say that my dad was not just a fierce civil rights advocate. He was a man of integrity, and he lived in private before his children and my mother, whom he loved deeply. He lived in private what he said in public. He was everything to us, and I very much appreciate Daniel and the council giving us this honor so long after his passing. He's still missed today. Thank you so much.
The other thing I'll add is the reason why we're doing this now is that there was recently a book published about his life and his journey. And on Thursday, there's actually going to be a celebration at the University of Pittsburgh that sort of recognizes his life. There's going to be I think it's at 4 o'clock? Yes. 4 o'clock this Thursday at the University of Pittsburgh, where there's going to be a documentary about his life and things of that nature, which is why we're doing the proclamation now. Chris, if I could first do a picture with the family, and then I would ask all members to come forward for a picture as well. And Angie, if you would bring all those, Miss Mike, I apologize. If you would bring all those for CTE month forward. Sorry.
I see that, yeah.
Well, to keep us moving, as our children come forward, I'll start the proclamation. But what I'll say is we've now done this for at least 6-7 years now in a row, probably more than that, where we recognize Career and Technical Education Month at Pittsburgh Public Schools. And I will simply say, and I'll let Ms. Mike do the talking at the end, but Pittsburgh Public Schools is actually doing a lot of phenomenal work in the space of career and technical education. And they've really grown this area in this department over the years. And so we want to thank them for the work they're doing to get our children prepared. Whereas February 1st through 28th, 2025 has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education. Whereas profound economic and technological changes in our society are rapidly reflected in the structure and nature of work, thereby placing new and additional responsibilities on our educational system. And whereas career and technical education provides Americans with school-to-careers connection and is the backbone of a strong, well-educated workforce, which fosters productivity in business and industry and contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace. Whereas career and technical education gives high school students experience and practical, meaningful applications of skills such as reading, writing, and mathematics, thus improving the quality of their education, motivating potential dropouts, and giving all student leadership opportunities in their fields and their communities. Whereas Pittsburgh Public Schools career and technical education programs help students to prepare for high-wage, high-skill, high-demand careers in STEM fields, industry apprenticeships, as well as 2- or 4-year degree programs at Pennsylvania state-funded schools, community colleges, private schools, and trade schools. Whereas Pittsburgh Public Schools and the City of Pittsburgh are partners in providing career exposure initiatives as well as paid cooperative educational opportunities for CTE students. Whereas Pittsburgh Public Schools career and technical education programs are an integral part of the district's objective to ensure that all students are equipped with skills to succeed in college, career, and life. And whereas the ever-increasing cooperative efforts between CTE educators, business and industry leaders, and post-secondary education institutions stimulate the growth and vitality of our local economy and that of the entire nation by preparing graduates for career fields forecast to experience the largest and fastest growth in the next decade. And now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare February to be Career and Technical Education Month in the City of Pittsburgh. May we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Council President LaBelle. Appreciate you having us here today, and thank you to all of City Council for having us here today with our students. You guys have been supportive over the years, and I just want to thank all of you for your continued support. Looking forward to doing those tiny houses with you. But I just want to give a little bit of background. Career and technical education in Pittsburgh Public Schools is not the old vocational education that we once knew many years ago, but career and technical education is technical now. And if we look at the job forecast that we have before us, the jobs that are in the future, not now, but also in the future, are all going to be a lot around technical fields. And Pittsburgh Public Schools is doing a great job of preparing our students to take advantage of those high-wage, high-skilled jobs. Today we have with us our pre-apprenticeship students from carpentry. We are the first pre-apprenticeship program in the state of Pennsylvania to have this program. And we also have our new program that just started this year, emerging educators, students over here. And we are growing our own in Pittsburgh Public Schools, and we are making a pipeline for our teachers to bring those teachers back into the district through that program. We have over 16 programs in our district, from information technology to coding, health careers, cosmetology, the trades, HVAC, engineering, and many more that you can see on our website. We also have a virtual tour that takes you through every program, so if you're not able to come into the schools and see it, you can look at a 360 like you look at when you go and look at for vacations. We have that for our CTE programs and labs. So for those out in the community and the public, please check out our virtual tour online if you're not able to come into the schools. And we have seats open for students. Our doors are open for any student who's interested in taking a career and tech program, and that's what we're here for. We also value our partners, because without them, not having partners on board, we wouldn't be able to provide what the ultimate goal is, to provide our kids jobs. And we have many partners, some here in the room today that'll also speak in a couple minutes. But I just want to say, please, everyone who hasn't had a chance to see what we offer in Pittsburgh Public and Career and Tech, please go to the website. I'm always available for conversation or questions. And at this time, I want to turn it over to our folks from the Carpenters Union. Mr. Bender, you want to come forward and say a couple words?
So I stand here with you today, and I commend you for the proclamation and help in acknowledging what these students are doing. And I'm speaking specifically on the carpentry kids, because that's who I work with. A little background on them: they're putting 3 years in, going to regular schools, but then also going to their career technical educations with the hope and a promise of a future career. Now, Pittsburgh stands on the precipice of a major renaissance coming with residential construction. Wouldn't it be great if we took this acknowledgement of their success and started turning it into advocacy and making sure we find a pathway for these students to stay working in the city, keep their tax dollars in the city, and stay living in the city? And that's what I'm hoping that we can work with over the next few months, and I'd be happy to sit with you and figure out a plan that we can get these kids on these future projects right here in the city. So thank you.
Council President?
Yes.
Sorry, could I just say, I just wanted to just quickly say, you know, I had never heard of CTE program until last year. And that's when Miss Mike and I met. And I just want to, well, two things. One is you and your team, your tiny little team, do so much to prepare our kids because, you know, college is not for everyone, right? And to prepare our kids and make sure that when they come out of high school, they have jobs, not just any job, but good jobs and career paths. And so thank you. Really, thank you for everything you do. And to the students here, you know, and specifically carpentry, because I know these numbers, doing this program is the best decision you ever made. Deciding like back in 9th grade or whenever to do this program. From 18 to 21, there will be kids like you that go to a 4-year college, and at the end of 4 years, at 21 years old, they will be $150,000 in debt. You, on the other hand, if you continue with carpentry, you know, go right into your apprenticeship programs and working, et cetera, have the potential in that same 4 years to have earned like $250,000. And you'll only be 21, and you can still do whatever you want, and you will always have that skill for the rest of your life. So congratulations to all of you for choosing this program and to those who are finishing this year.
I just want to say I've gone way back with you from back when I worked with Pittsburgh Public Schools and was the PTA president of some of the schools. But you started over in Sheridan, doing some stuff over in Sheridan, and that's how I got to know you first. But I want to say that as amazing as the kids are, every year you have amazing kids, and every year you have amazing people coming through the program and partnerships. But the one thing that's remained the same has been you, and I think you have really made this program something so amazing for so many people. And I remember you starting with just a few kids, and now here you are with this. I'm amazed at how many kids you have. So thank you for the work that you do and have continued to do all this year.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Ms. Mike, I just want to congratulate you. You know, I'm so anxious to get started working with you. I know we've, been playing phone tag, and we're finally going to get together. But just as Councilwoman Warwick said to all of you, I couldn't agree more. I myself went that path. I'm in the construction business right out of high school. Didn't come back with debt. And best of all, once you get older and you own your own home, you could fix and do your own repairs. It doesn't cost you a fortune. So maybe even build your own home if you stick with it. So I'm a big supporter of what you do. I think it's fantastic. The building trades, once you learn a trade, whether it be carpentry, electric, plumbing, depending on whatever your trade is, you can go anywhere in the world and work. Okay, you can with that knowledge. So congratulations. I look forward to working with some of you. I look forward to building maybe a potential tiny home together and other things. Congratulations to you, Ms. Mike. I'm very, very impressed with all you've done throughout the years, and I think it's such a valuable lesson for these kids. So thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
Can I take a quick selfie? If I can get us all in here.
Yeah, let's get together, right?
See you guys. Thanks for being here. And
I was just trying to let them get out your way.
Yeah, take it. Thank you.
And Councilwoman Smith?
Can we have Leanna Rhodes and everyone who's with her come forward, please? Looks like Chartier City is in the house. You look great. Just come stand right here. Stand right- okay. So I often talk about Chartier City in District 2 being such an amazing neighborhood. It's one of the places that doesn't get a lot of publicity. They don't get a lot of fanfare. There's just not a lot. And one day, I remember I contacted Diana Nelson Jones, back then of the Post-Gazette, and she came and did a story on Chartier City. And one of the things about Chartier City that people don't know, it is, do we still have people back there want to come up? They don't want to come up. She can sit here. You can sit here. So we have, anyway, Chartier City, I just want to tell you a little bit about it. It has, it's my only predominantly black neighborhood in District 2, number one. And it also is low crime, high home ownership, at one of the highest in the city, home ownership. And if you drive through there, it is beautiful. It's not, and I mentioned this the other day during Black History Month, it's not because they have a beautiful $1 million spray park that was started, with then Mayor Peduto and finished under this current mayor. And then we had, they have a beautiful park. They have churches in the community that are part of the community. They do so many amazing things there. Programs for the kids, all sorts of things. But the one thing they do that a lot of other neighborhoods don't do is they hold the bar so high. I mean, so high. I remember one time I was at a meeting and I invited somebody to come to the meeting. They waited for me outside the meeting. They're like, don't ever do that. Don't bring anybody into Chartier City unless we know who you're bringing in here, because they want to make sure it stays a nice neighborhood. And they have done, as beautiful as it is, it's not because stuff government's doing. It's not because of stuff that, tax dollars are paying for. It's because of what they put into this community every single day. And when I tell you they hold the bar high, you have to get to know them. No, they really hold the bar high. And one of those people who's been really active in the community is Leetta Rhodes. Leetta, not only does she hold the bar high and has served in many capacities in the community, she is one of those people that will just tell you exactly what needs to happen down there. When she does not, I remember she sent an email over to the administration one time, and I was like, oh my God. But she was serious. I mean, she cares about the community tremendously, and she wants to make sure we all help support their initiatives. Whereas Leetta Rose was born and raised in the west side of Pittsburgh, she attended Chartiers Elementary School, K-7, and Langley High School, 7 to 12. She later continued her education at Bradford Business School and pursued studies in computer technology. And whereas she dedicated 24 years to full-time employment across various departments and schools within the Pittsburgh Public School District. Additionally, she has been with the Urban League of Greater Pittsburgh for 15 years, where she currently serves as the program manager for the First-Time Home Buyers Program. Of course you do. and whereas in 2020, Leetta served as the chair of the Allegheny County Providers. She is a former member of the White Lily Baptist Church and now attends Allegheny Center Alliance Church. Leetta spent 9 years as a Sunday school teacher and is currently an active member of the prayer team. Well, you better keep us all in it. And whereas Leetta bought a home in the Wind Gap Chartiers area in 1997, after spending some time away, she returned in 2007 and became active in the Wind Gap Chartiers Civic Club, appreciating its vital role in the community. In 2020, she took the position of president of the Wind Gap Chartiers City Civic Club. And whereas she worked diligently alongside the Wind Gap Chartiers City Executive Board to promote the safety of residents, children, and park visitors, she also played a key role in sustaining holiday celebrations, community day events, and additional park activities for everyone to enjoy. And whereas Leetta stepped down as president of the Wind Gap Chartier Civic Club on August 30th, 2024. However, she continues to serve on the executive board as the community will always hold a special place in her heart. And whereas Leetta was married and has 3 children, she is now the proud grandmother of 6 and cherishes the time she spends with them. And now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby recognize Leetta Rhodes for her selfless service to her community, and be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 to be Leetta Rhodes Day in the City of Pittsburgh.
May we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
I'd like to thank you for this acknowledgement. I only do it because it is from my heart. I would like the community to be safe and productive and comfortable for all the residents. And I thank you for my family being here, my coworkers. I'm from the Urban League. I have the CEO, Mr. Carlos. He's here. Victoria Goins, Vice President. We have my children, my brother, and we have members of the executive board. And again, I'd like to say thank you, and if anybody else wants to say anything. Yeah, my friend Karen, she's here. Thank you.
Well, I just want to, thank you guys for recognizing the work of Leetta, what she does at the Urban League as well as our community. Leetta, you exemplify, what being a good neighbor is, what a good community member is. And, one of my favorite quotes is, judge not a man or a woman on what he or she has, but what they're willing to give. And you demonstrate you're willing to give your all. So thank you, Leetta. We're proud of you. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you and congratulations to Leetta. I've known Leetta practically all my life. I grew up with her, and our community is tight-knit. And just to see that the person and the woman that she's become, she deserves everything and all the acclimates that she receives. But one thing I know that is like big things come in small packages. And, like Teresa said, if she's straightforward, she's gonna let you know. So, and I appreciate being on the board. She's one of the reasons why I joined the WCCC board, executive board. So, congratulations again.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I am on the board, executive board, along with Leetta and Albert. We have 4 others that are not present, but we just want to say thank you for acknowledging her, because that acknowledged us. We do have a big job there. And I love working with them. We've had our ups and downs and backwards and forwards, but we are still here. And with people like Leetta, Albert, and our others, we will continue to do the best job that we can do along with your help. Thanks again for acknowledging her.
And I'm just going to say, it's an amazing neighborhood because even though they give me a hard time, they do amazing work down there. They do amazing work, and it is such a beautiful community. I know some of you have been there before, but I know you play ball there. Marty. But anyway, but I do want to say that they don't hesitate to say what needs to happen down there. And they're a group, one of my few groups that actually are always asking for the police to be a part of the community. They work alongside them. They work alongside the schools, and they have an interactive arts garden down there. They have all sorts of things in that community that are just amazing. And every year you have a great community event. So I'll just say during that time, that's a great time to come see Chartier City in Wind Gap. Well, that's it. Want to take a photo?
Up to you.
Yeah.
You want all members?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So our next order of business is going to be public comment. I would like to remind everyone that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which may be before city council. Profanity will not be permitted. Once you are called, please restate your name, provide your neighborhood for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. And our first registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller.
Dr. Ronald N. Miller, Lawrenceville, Lagos, Nigeria, Lagos, Pittsburgh. Yes. I became a member of the Association for the Advancement of Artificial Intelligence in the early 2000s, along with the American Physical Society, with a link to the Nigerian Physical Society. I'm the Global Intelligence Society candidate for President 2028. globalintelligencesociety.org, and Global Information Intelligence Network.net. Concerns of this council include sex gender equity and robotics. This is consistent with my President 2028 Initiative 7, sex gender equality, which I favor over equity, and Initiative 3, no party but optimal information intelligence polities. While all these people leave who are supposed to be honored, they behave like uncivil people. This is really something that all of you need to pay attention to. Look at them leaving. It's not just myself, it is other people who do public comment, and we're supposed to say that these people are honorees. This is disgusting behavior. There is a person of Nigerian descent, a Nigerian American, a roboticist, Dr. Otu Wanmi Dosumu Ogunbi. She's the first female Black African descent in robotics, PhD, from the University of Michigan. She has contacts with 2 robotics institutes in Lagos. Lawrenceville is claims to be robotics row, but the information about it is very ambiguous. The number of females contrasted with the number of males is unknown. Number of people who are of Black African descent contrasted with the people who are of non-African descent, unknown. DEI champion Ms. Gross does not tell us. There is no DEI-RR information of which I'm available that shows this specifically. Ms. Gross does not tell us what they are doing in there. What are they making in RR? This is not just some sort of KDKA presentation. While all of you are on your digital devices, look at this, Strasburger and Warwick. You are behaving in an uncivil manner. The presider doesn't say anything about this, allows people to come in and go out while people do public comment. What are they making in RR? Robo sapiens?
Thank you very much. And this is a friendly reminder to all those who provide public comment. Comment is directed at council members, not those in attendance. If you're directing your comments to those in attendance, you will be muted and asked to be removed from the mic. Our next speaker is Chad Ringblom.
Good morning. My name's Chad Ringblom. I'm from Brentwood. Yeah, I prepared a bunch of stuff to say in response to Ms. Strasburger's reply to us regarding what we spoke about last week, and it ultimately just, I'm not going to speak on that. I've been reading up a little bit about you guys, and I want to be positive here. Ms. Strasburger, your passion for fighting against discrimination and your passion for clean air and clean water. These are beautiful examples, beautiful, shining examples of the image of God. And Ms. Warwick, you spoke on doxing. I myself, by the way, was doxed here, or shortly after I spoke here in 2022. I've still been dealing with the fallout from that. I don't know who it is. I'm not accusing anybody, but I was doxed. So I understand where you're coming from with that, and I applaud you for that. That's another shining example of being made in the image of God. I know that you're a mother of 4 and that you're a former teacher. So I know that children must be a major passion of yours. You have a clear high regard for children, and it's obvious. And with that all being said, and I do have to come in and say some things. Based on the evidence, and Jesus calls us to not judge by appearance, but judge with right judgment. Based on the appearance, or based on the evidence of the things that I've seen passed by this council, I know some of you are new, but the Word of God says that those who hate God love death. And enshrining abortion into this city's fabric is something that, while you might say, well, I don't hate, or I don't love death, I hate death. Enshrining abortion into this government, into this city, is in practice loving death. And my concern for all of you, and I do have a deep concern for all of you, is that I don't think that anyone on this council knows God. Maybe some of you go to church, I don't know, but you don't have a saving knowledge of God, and I'm concerned about that. The Word of God provides a mercy to people through Jesus Christ, that you can be saved from your sin.
Thank you very much.
And anyway, I guess I didn't have enough time.
Our next speaker is Joseph Griffo.
Thank you very much. Joe Griffo, Pleasant Hills. Good morning. And I do want to continue my response to Mayor Gainey's reasons for refusing to cooperate with ICE if it does come to that. In the Trib article, he is quoted as saying, ICE is not going to end the failed policies of immigration. And that's true. That's a red herring, however. ICE is not meant to solve the immigration crisis any more than police officers are meant to end crime. They're called to perform their statutory duty in upholding and enforcing just and established laws of this nation, commonwealth, and city. And they're to be assisted, encouraged, and supported by the magistrate. The mayor went on to say, supporting ICE, he says, quote, what it's going to do is create more situations where people feel scared, where people don't feel safe, end quote. He failed to qualify those people, and those people are people here illegally. Romans 13:3-4, we're told this is the duty of the magistrate. It says this, for the rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from the fear of the one in authority? Then do what's right, and you'll be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. In a just society, those who break the law ought to be fearful, and those who obey the law should feel safe and supported by the magistrate. We're seeing an inverse in that, especially in different parts of this country. It's not an issue of skin color, it's not an issue of country of origin, and it's not an issue of ethnicity or race. Diversionary tactics such as appeals to fear, pity, emotion, ad hominem attacks, use of euphemisms, they just don't help. This is an issue of freedom and justice. You can't have true freedom without justice. Real compassion and true love does not shield the guilty from consequences, but encourages to accept them, to learn from them, to do that which is right and proper and even costly. That leads to freedom. You know that if you're a parent. Many who come here illegally are not guilty for wanting to get a chance of a better life, opportunities to provide and prosper. I understand that. Nevertheless, they do bear the burden of guilt by willfully choosing to violate very clear and long-standing laws, procedures, and processes. The very laws, procedures, and processes that many of your own ancestors followed that you have greatly benefited from, and rightly so. Those here illegally will carry the burden being rightly fearful because they have transgressed. In shielding them, you actually rob them of the opportunity to be released from that burden of fear. Now, in addition, this blatant partiality is so unfair, and it shows profound disrespect for the millions and millions who continue to immigrate legally. And that's all we're asking. That's all we're asking. Again, I implore you to do your sworn duty to act with both love and justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our last registered speaker is Ralph Williams.
Thank you, President Lavelle, members of council. How are you this morning? I'm here to talk today about, I called Bob Charlin's office, who happens to be my councilman. His assistant said to me, I called about the pavements on Warrington Avenue that need to be fixed. And his assistant said to me, and I quote, call 311 because you might get better results. Well, I called 311 the other day, or I'm sorry, I called yesterday actually. And what had happened was, they told me they were going to try to do it. Well, you know what? That's nice, but, you know, I thought city council people were supposed to help, and I do appreciate Mr. Charlin's help on other matters. But, you know, this is important because I'm in a wheelchair, several people in my building, and I live at 803 East Warrington Avenue, you know, in the Caligari Plaza. We're in wheelchairs and elderly people that, you know, walk on the sidewalks there, and a lot of them are not great. All the way down Warrington Avenue from Belsuva to Arlington. Well, I did call the mayor's office. We'll see where it goes from there. My second thing I'm calling about today, I want to know who the council person is for the terminal on Smallman Street. I was there for an event on Saturday night at a business there, which I'm not going to mention. And I'm in a wheelchair, as you know, and I had to get up the ramp. The ramp is very small. It doesn't meet ADA requirements. And my mom is 80 years old and had to walk with me up the ramp. Both of us I almost tipped my chair and she almost fell. It is very small, very skinny, no railing, nothing. I need somebody, whoever's district this is, to straighten this out with ownership. All right. If not, I will call the Americans for Disabilities and I will straighten it out. But I am asking city council, whoever's area that is, to please straighten that out with that ownership group there. That is unacceptable to me, and it's unacceptable to anyone that's handicapped that wants to go to any one of those businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. That exhausts our list of registered speakers. If there's anyone in chambers wishing to speak, please come forward at this time. Provide your name and neighborhood for the record.
Good morning. My name is Yvonne F. Brown. I live at 715 Mercer Street. Today, I was talking to some of the young kids for the carpenters. I was explaining. Excuse me for a minute. I was explaining that I fought to keep Conley Vocational open. Your school board, what they pushed was college. Everyone has to go to college. So they closed that school. Now we have, when I'm talking to the ones that came today, I explained to them what happened. He said, well, Miss Brown, we got three different schools or whatever. But when you had Conley, one of the best schools in the United States, and the reason why I said that, you had people that came from the foreign country that were able to learn how to speak English. And I wondered why we had where the black people, a lot of us black people wasn't speaking English like we should. And I was wondering why we were having such a problem. And I couldn't understand how the Chinese or whatever foreign people came and could pass and learn our English. And I was taught them that they already had a basis, and all they did was learn from what they had already learned, and it was able to learn. If you're not taught, then we have a lot of ignorant people. I used to bring my grandchild down here. She was 5 at that time. She's 8 now. I brought her back to speak one day when school was out, and she wouldn't. She remembers when my granddaughter was speaking, Mr. Burgess had said it wasn't a time or a place for her to speak here. But yet and still, and I'll still go back to when you had your two little white babies. During proclamation, Miss Strasburger had the baby on her lap while she took care of business, and Mr. O'Connor, who appears that is running pretty good for our mayor, they were talking about how much money that he has gotten. Our mayor only got like $23,000, and O'Connor's got thousands. I must say this: I'm not for the mayor, and I am for O'Connor, if that's the only one that's running. I do think that we should have Carl Redwood could run for our mayor. I believe that he knows, and his father also worked with this city. I want you to understand, I'm coming down here. I'm tired of coming, but I keep coming. I get so upset because up in the building, you remember I told you about the lady? She came back and jumped on our manager, and the police didn't come for a half an hour when the manager.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Bernadette from Beachview, and I'm very proud to sit here and tell you that the godmother of separation of church and state was conceived and brought home from the hospital to 1540 Beachview Avenue, the old bakery, I think that was, Madeline O'Hare. She took on the country, and there's a reason we have separation of church and state. Anyway, we used to have in the 30s a state-of-the-art rec center, which I've talked before that I would like to see come back. It was at the corner of Sebring and Fallowfield. Okay, we can't get it, but thank you, Anthony, for what you're doing, because you're doing what they taught there. And I think with all the cuts that are coming down from Washington, we may need to revisit bringing back those vocational type of facilities. It's scary for college students right now. It's scary for, you can have kids that are on the spectrum that are not going to be growing up pushing pencils, that are going to be pushing hammers and nails and fixing everything. They're much better at that. Okay, now, having said that, I've spoken before. Thank you very much for the calming efforts you've done on Broadway, but there's one particular intersection at Crosby and Broadway which I almost got hit again the other night. Come up, please, yourselves, and look at where that stop sign is. They don't see it. And like at the top of Coast, they're coming up over. They're thinking, oh no, I can't see it, I'm just gonna come up over. I sat there at that corner, I almost got hit, and then the guy flew out and almost got hit by a trolley. This is the same corner, you can see the grooves, the underbelly of the trucks. What's happening is people now know where the calming corners are. That one doesn't have one. Oh, we're just gonna use Crosby Avenue as a freeway. Can we get some cement there? Can we get some bright yellow signs? Can we do something before somebody gets, I have video. It's a dangerous corner. That stop sign is poorly placed at the cusp of the hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Special Agent Sunshine. I return to sender any voodoo, hexes, curses sent towards me 100 million, billion, trillion googolplex, and whoever sending it, Lord, throw them in a lake of fire. California's on fire, so somebody been throwing voodoo at me. All my life, somebody's been trying to kill me with death rituals every day. Now, when you hear the word success, what do you think of? Wealth, power? How do you think God defines success? Micah 6:8 says this. He has told you, oh man, what is good and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. I left 2nd Avenue Shelter on January 31st because they now have bed bugs. I have been putting this word out on the street because you can't play with bed bugs. You have to throw everything away. Now, there are still people in this building, which means they're infested, they're breeding. As long as there's a food supply for bed bugs, I promise you, they're gonna multiply. And people are their food supply. They're a parasite, they live off blood. Now, staff knows, security knows, every bus driver, every bus I get on, I'm letting them know, because this is a problem. When anybody comes out of that building with bed bugs on them, they're taking them with them. I ran for the hills on the 31st. It is now, what, the 11th? And there's still people in that building? That means nobody cares. Really? Here's the message. What you gonna do when they come for you? Because there's nothing you can do to stop them until you treat them. And if you don't treat them, you're gonna come out of this building and see everybody in this city scratching and being eaten alive by them. Is that okay with you? Obviously it is, because nobody's doing anything. Really? You think God is okay with that? He doesn't play about his children. He does not. Some of us are protected. He has the power to lead and guide those bed bugs where he wants them to go. And I promise you, if you're not protected, you will become part of the food chain. In Jesus' name. I talked about the pestilence. I talked about the plague. The plague is an instrument of God's wrath, a punishment of unrighteousness. That's what this is. Those bed bugs are a punishment of unrighteousness. Now, you can sit on this as long as you want to. But again, what are you going to do when they come for you? Because I promise you, they're coming. They're coming. There's nothing you can do to stop them because you didn't stop them when I gave you the warning. I'm always giving you warnings. You don't listen. So when they come, keep that same energy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Seeing no further speakers, we'll turn to the presentation of papers, beginning with Councilman Sharlin, Chair of Human Resources.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning.
Councilperson Robert Sharlin presents Bill 1484, resolution providing that the City of Pittsburgh enter into a professional services agreement and/or contract with consultants and/or service providers for professional services in connection with civil service and MPOETC required assessment and evaluation of public safety candidates, and providing for the payment of the cost thereof, cost not to exceed $95,000.
And Councilman Coghill, Chair of Public Safety and Wellness.
No new papers, Mr. President, not that I know of.
Okay.
Right?
Councilman Anthony Coghill presents Bill 1485, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of public safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Center for Employment Opportunities to clean and revitalize community spaces for a sum not to exceed $456,022 over 1 year.
And Councilwoman Gross, Chair of Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology.
No new papers, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Mosley, Chair of Intergovernmental Educational Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilman Kahari Mosley presents Bill 1486, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant payable in favor of the United States Conference of Mayors for 1-year membership dues in an amount not to exceed $19,840. Bill 1487, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant payable in favor of Allegheny League of Municipalities for 1-year membership dues in an amount not to exceed $9,000. And Bill 1488, ordinance authorizing the City of Pittsburgh to enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the Borough of Wilkinsburg for providing fire and emergency management services to the borough pursuant to the General Local Government Code and the Emergency Management Services Code at a total cost not to exceed $11,933,932 over 5 years.
And Councilwoman Kell Smith, Chair of Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services.
No new papers, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Strasburger, Chair of Finance and Law.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilperson Erica Strasburger presents Bill 1489, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of James E. D. Pasquale for plaintiff counsel fees and costs pursuant to 42 U.S.C. Statute 1988 in connection with a litigation matter in the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania for an amount not to exceed $123,873.76 over 1 year. Bill 1490, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Spillman, Thomas, and Battle, PLLC, for expert legal services in connection with a litigation matter in the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania for an amount not to exceed $26,406.04 over 1 year. Bill 1491, resolution amending Resolution Number 857 of 2023, effective December 27, 2023, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2024 Capital Budget, the proposed 2024 Community Development Program, and the 2024 through 2029 Capital Improvement Program by increasing street resurfacing by $45,000 to account for the payment of a surety bond made to the City of Pittsburgh. Bill 1492, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant payable in favor of Una Solutions, Inc. for 1-year subscription in an amount not to exceed $18,500. And Bill 1493, resolution to authorize and direct the incurring of non-electoral debt through the issuance of a series of general obligation bonds of the City of Pittsburgh in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $67,550,000.
Councilwoman Warwick, Chair of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Barbara Warwick presents Bill 1494, resolution providing for preemption, interconnection, construction, and maintenance agreement between CSXT and the City of Pittsburgh for construction and maintenance of highway rail grade crossing warning devices consisting of automatic flashing lights and gates at the grade crossings of Tecumseh Street and Hazelwood Avenue, and providing for the payment of the costs thereof not to exceed $0. Bill 1495, resolution further amending Resolution Number 466 of 2020, which authorized the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into a professional services agreement with Studio Zood for professional landscape architectural services for Homewood Park infrastructure upgrades by increasing the overall cost by $176,609.60 for a new city cost not to exceed $2,041,082.30 over 1 year. Bill 1496, resolution further amending Resolution Number 857 of 2024, effective December 27, 2023, as entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2024 Capital Budget, the proposed 2024 Community Development Program, and the 2024 through 2029 Capital Improvement Program to decrease sport facilities by $115,170 and increase park reconstruction by $115,170. And Bill 1497, resolution amending Resolution 291 of 2024, authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to execute an agreement with the Pennsylvania Resources Council in order to continue providing electronic waste collection and recycling services for city residents by extending PRC's services for 1 year to December 31st, 2025, and increasing the authorized spend by $78,750 for a new total amount not to exceed $393,750.
And Councilman Wilson, Chair of Land Use and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Bobby Wilson presents Bill 1498, resolution amending Resolution 562 of 2024, entitled Resolution Authorizing the Mayor and the Director of the Department of City Planning to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission for the purpose of receiving grant funds in the amount of $25,000 to develop revised historic guidelines in the Mexican War Streets Historic District. The grant requires a match from the City of Pittsburgh in the amount of $12,500 for this stated purpose, for a total project cost of $37,500 to include the Manchester District.
And on behalf of myself, yes, the appointment first. Thank you.
Councilman R. Daniel Lavelle presents Bill 1499, resolution appointing Christopher Ragland as a chief of the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police, Department of Public Safety.
May we have the motion to hold for interview?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Councilman?
Yeah, Mr. President, I would also like to hold a public hearing on this matter. I've been getting a lot of feedback from my district, and I know the NAACP and Mr. Davis has come out, and they would like to see it as well. I think it's a prudent thing to do, so I would like to request a public hearing.
Okay, let me come to you
Sure.
when we do motions and resolutions.
Good deal.
And we'll call for the public hearing then.
Are we doing a public hearing? Are we holding the motion to interview contingent on a public hearing?
That's not what I was suggesting. My suggestion was we hold for an interview, and then under motions and resolutions, we would take Councilman Coghill's wish to also hold for a public hearing.
So, Mr. President, I would like the public hearing to be before the interview. Is that?
That is possible.
Okay, good enough.
Right. So yes, that is,
Okay.
yes, we can certainly schedule that out.
Good deal.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilwoman Warwick.
I did just want to clarify. So I think, at least from the NAACP, I think the desire was for a town hall, not necessarily. I mean, just for the format, right? Where so that it would be like a question and answer, which wouldn't necessarily be the public. I mean,
Right.
I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I also support that, but I'm suggesting and recommending a public hearing on our own.
Let's have once we get the motion resolutions, have a robust conversation on this. Let's get through the final two communications. Madam Clerk.
Councilman R. Daniel Lavelle also presents Bill 1500, communication from Jake Pollock, Director of Office of Management and Budget, submitting to City Council the attached status update from the Grants Office for the week ended February 7th, 2025. And Bill 1501, communication from Jake Pollock, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, submitting an acting pay request on behalf of the Department of Public Works for Donald Brooks per the acting pay policy revised in June 2018.
Need a motion to read, receive, and file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business is reports of committee for final action, beginning with Councilwoman Erica Strasburger, representing the Committee of Finance and Law.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilperson Erica Strasburger presents Bill 1478, Report of the Committee on Finance and Law for February 5th, 2025, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1409, Resolution amending Resolution 547 of 2024, which authorized the mayor and the director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreements with Pittsburgh Futures for professional services relating to leadership development training by increasing the authorized spend by $76,800 for services in 2025 for a new total cost not to exceed $338,136 over 4 years. Bill 1410, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Finance to enter into a license agreement with the Pittsburgh Steelers LLC to allow for the use of the city seal on official Steelers branded merchandise at zero cost to the city. Bill 1437, Resolution amending Resolution 316 of 2022, which provided for an agreement or agreements with Center for Hearing and Deaf Services, Inc. and Global Wordsmiths by increasing the authorized spend for Global Wordsmiths by $38,000 for services in 2025 for a new total cost not to exceed $98,000 over 4 years. Bill 1438, Resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of James Sheehan, Lorene O'Neill Sheehan, and their attorneys Goodrich and Geist, P.C., for a single payment in 2025 in an amount not to exceed $150,000 in full and final settlement of litigation filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Bill 1439, Resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Shavonte Glover and her attorneys, Allegheny Law Group, LLC, for a single payment in 2025 in an amount not to exceed $8,500 in full and final settlement of litigation filed in the Common Pleas Court of Allegheny County. Bill 1440, Resolution further amending Resolution number 723 of 2022, effective December 27th, 2022, as amended, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2023 Capital Budget, the 2023 Community Development Program, and the 2023 through 2028 Capital Improvement Program by increasing complete streets by $221,600 to account for additional Federal Highway Administration funding being received by the City of Pittsburgh. And Bill 1441, Resolution authorizing the Mayor and the Director of Finance to enter into an agreement or agreements with Morante Contracting Incorporated to provide access to City of Pittsburgh-owned parcels 26E301, 26E302, 26E303, 26E304, and 26E305 to support the replacement and rehabilitation of portions of the existing retaining wall supporting Ruthven Street above the Pittsburgh Regional Transit Martin Luther King Busway, and to replace various sewer infrastructure in the vicinity at no cost to the city.
You have heard the reading in entirety of the bill. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill, vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin?
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Ms. Gross? Aye. Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Kell-Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
9 ayes.
The bill, having received the legally required number of votes, is passed finally. That takes us to Councilman Anthony Coghill, presenting the Committee of Public Safety and Wellness.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilman Anthony Coghill presents Bill 1479, Report of the Committee on Public Safety and Wellness for February 5th, 2025, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1433, Resolution amending Resolution 134 of 2024, which authorized the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership to provide an ambassador program to assist police with non-criminal matters in the Central Business District by increasing the approved amount by $1,200,000 for an amended total cost not to exceed $2,400,000 over 4 years.
You heard the reading and entitle of the bill. Is there any discussion? If none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill, vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin?
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
9 ayes.
The bill having received the legally required number of votes is passed finally. That takes us to Councilwoman Barbara Warwick, presenting the Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Barbara Warwick presents Bill 1480, Report of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure for February 5th, 2025, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1412, Resolution authorizing the taking, appropriating, and condemning by the City of Pittsburgh of certain easements necessary for the completion of temporary construction work for sidewalk construction and associated miscellaneous work for public transportation purposes through eminent domain, and further authorizing the payment of just compensation and necessary and incidental acquisition costs related thereto at an amount not to exceed $25,000, reimbursable at 80%. Bill 1442, Resolution providing for an amended reimbursement agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for costs associated with the construction phase of the Sylvan Avenue Multimodal Path Project and providing for the payment of costs thereof not to exceed $1,809,585, an increase of $277,000 from the previously executed agreement. And Bill 1443, Resolution Agreement amending Resolution Number 172 of 2020, allowing for a compensation paid to PennDOT of the local costs associated with the East Carson Street Supplemental Improvement Project being undertaken by PennDOT, and further providing for payment of the cost not to exceed $942,001.11, an increase of $55,838.12 from the previously executed agreement.
You've heard the reading and entitle of the bill. Is there any discussion?
I didn't see it.
If none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill, vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin?
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
9 ayes.
The bill having received the legally required number of votes is passed finally, and that takes us to Councilwoman Teresa Cale Smith, presenting the Committee of Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Councilwoman Teresa Cale Smith presents Bill 1481, Report of the Committee on Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services for February 5th, 2025, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1436, Resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter into an agreement or agreements with America 250 PA for the purpose of receiving grant funds from the semi-quincentennial grant in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for city's Independence Day celebration.
You've heard the reading and entitle of the bill. Is there any discussion? If none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill, vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin?
Aye.
Mr. Coghill?
Aye.
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
9 ayes.
The bill having received the legally required number of votes is passed finally, and that takes us to Councilwoman Deborah Gross presenting the Committee of Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Deborah L. Gross presents Bill 1482, Report of the Committee on Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology for February 5th, 2025, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1434, Resolution amending Resolution 649 of 2022, authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to enter into an agreement or agreements and amendments thereto with Foster & Foster Consulting Actuaries, Inc. for a municipal pension contribution data system by increasing the approved amount by $375,000 for an amended total cost not to exceed $625,000 over 5 years.
You've heard the reading and title of the bill. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill by aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Mosley.
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. LaBelle, President.
Aye.
9 ayes.
The bill having received the legally required number of votes is passed finally. And finally, Councilman Kari Mosley presenting the Committee on Intergovernmental Educational Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilman Kahari Mosley presents Bill 1483, Report of the Committee on Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs for February 5th, 2025, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1435, Resolution adopting plan revision to the City of Pittsburgh's official sewage facilities plan for 938 and 940 Penn Avenue, Pittsburgh 15222, at no cost to the city.
You've heard the reading and title of the bill. Is there any discussion? If none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Mosley.
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. LaBelle, President.
Aye.
9 ayes.
The bill having received the legally required number of votes is passed finally. That takes us to motions and resolutions. And I'm just for clarity, we did receive a letter from the president and NAACP that was sent both to council and I believe to the administration asking for more of a town hall type meeting with the potential chief, so members could have a question and answer period, get to better understand him. But I think that's different than what our colleague on council was calling for. So, Councilman Coghill.
Yes, so I would like to call for a public hearing here in chambers. And I'll reach out to Mr. Davis and NAACP and see if they want to coordinate. You know, I don't, if we can have that in the forum and it satisfies them as well, I'm willing to do that. If not, we'll just do it separately. So, yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If
Yeah,
not-
I just want to say, I think the reason we need to have a discussion and need to have a public hearing is there's a lot that's been happening and the public is very keenly aware of this. And, you know, you just need to go on Reddit and other social media sites to see how angry they are about the previous situation with the previous chief of police. When I talked to Dalen Davis, he made it clear this was nothing to do with Chief Ragland, acting Chief Ragland, but that they really feel like the public needs needs to have a voice. And, you know, for all the things we say all the time about hearing from the public and putting people at the table that, you know, aren't always at the table, I think we should all just be very supportive of that, of hearing from them and letting people tell us what they would hope that we would consider in a chief. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So all those in favor of Councilman Wilson?
I just want to get some clarity. So what would the public be charged with coming to council to talk about? Would it be to express
Yeah, well, I've
their opinion about the nomination, or what's the action that they will be doing?
Yeah. Well, from what the feedback I get, the reason why I'm calling for the public hearing is because I want to hear personally from the public as to what they expect out of our next chief. They have very strong opinions about this, whether it was from the last Chief, that, things we went through there or not, I'm not sure, but I personally want to hear from the public. I think my constituents want to have a voice in this, at least just to be heard, so I want to provide them that platform. And I do like the idea NAACP and what they're proposing as well. So maybe we'll coordinate with them, maybe not, but I'd at least like to schedule our public hearing, and if we could accommodate them as to what they want. And if Chief Ragland could be here, I'm fine with that too. So, depending on the format, but I at least want to, propose our public hearing and discuss behind closed doors, I guess, with the NAACP from there.
Councilwoman Smith?
Thank you. I just want to say, I think that we should actually have a public process outlined by council for selecting a chief of police or any significant positions like that in the city of Pittsburgh, because it affects so many people. And I think it would be great to have that just in general for any, going forward, any chief of police. But I also think that these meetings should be in the evenings or on the weekends in places where people can get to them, because make it convenient for the public to participate, and maybe even on Zoom. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We'll work with you, Councilman, and the clerk's
Thank
office
you.
to get that scheduled. We are on a clock, so we'll have to meet with the clerk to work on that actual schedule to get this done in a timely manner.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Can we ask for an extension on that clock? I mean, like we did last month?
Potentially, yes.
I just don't like the idea of putting an artificial, deadline on us where...
I don't necessarily mean, my apologies, I don't necessarily mean an artificial clock, but rather we have 14 days to provide notice for this. We have 10 days to provide notice. So that's when I say the clock, I'm more referring to that. Not we have to do this by X amount of time. Any further discussion? If not, we do have meeting announcements. This afternoon at 1 o'clock, council will hold an executive session on bills 1489, 1490 as it relates to litigation. Also this afternoon at 1:30, council will hold a cablecast public hearing on bill 1405 as it relates to an intermunicipal liquor license application for the Riva Modern India Cuisine. Speaker registration will close at 12 o'clock. Tomorrow, Wednesday, February 12th at 10 a.m., council will meet for our standing committee meeting. Speaker registration will close at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Also tomorrow at 1:30, council will hold a cablecast public hearing on Bill 1234 relative to the Manchester Chateau Transit Revitalization Investment District Phase 1 Implementation Plan. Speaker registration will close at 12 o'clock tomorrow. And then on Friday, February 14th, with sessions at 1 and 2 o'clock, council will hold briefings on the 2025 bond ordinance. To register to speak at these meetings and hearings, please fill out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage by the deadline, or call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Everyone was present, so we need a motion to approve the minutes and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.